And there she is. I was giving you a countdown. Oh, Nancy Kelly is muted. And there she is. I gotta turn my phone on. Hi, there you are. You've unmuted.
Oh God, it's such a thing every week.
You sound so much better unmuted. You know? I don't like you as a mime.
Or a meme.
A mime, a meme.
There we go.
But you're a great mom, though. You know what? You don't want to be
debatable.
You don't want to be a meme. That's for sure. So hello. How are you?
Well, you know.
Yeah, well, it's another week.
Somebody wrote me the funniest message, and this person goes, "So, how's your year going so far?" And I'm like, "You're kidding, right?"
Yeah, I loved seeing on social media this week, although social media can be extremely toxic and negative, and mostly is, but somebody I guess it was a meme going around saying at the end of 7 days of this year, it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to cancel my 7-day trial to 2021. I'm not satisfied with the subscription, you know.
Well, we all knew it was going to, that it wasn't just going to miraculously change the first day of the year. I mean, we all knew that. We just didn't quite expect all the it was pretty sensational.
It was. I mean, yeah, it was definitely a week. It was a week to remember for between the the Senate races in Georgia on Tuesday, and then of course, I mean, a day that we'll never forget on Wednesday. Yeah, definitely the world was watching us for sure. I mean, you couldn't avoid you couldn't avoid it. I mean, I know people try to shut out social media, don't watch the news, but it's kind of hard not to totally be insulated from what was going on Wednesday, and it's the aftermath of it, and we still have a raging pandemic. So yeah, I kind of feel like this is still this is the 13th month of 2020.
That's a good way to. Well, it's an unfortunately good way to put it. We decided we didn't want to get too far.
No.
Because, it's been very stressful for everyone, and the whole excitement that I've had for weeks on end is my friend Giacomo coming on, and we've been friends a long time.
Yeah. No, and that's what this show is about. This show is about getting our minds off of, quite frankly,
that's why we call it time out. That's
the
whole meaning of it. Take time out from all this crap.
That is such a great title for this show. I think we both feel like we both came to that consensus. Like, what are we going to call this show? And it's like, well, okay, time out. Of course, it's like got the jazz connection because of the Dave Brubeck album, but really it allows us all to just take a time out from the week that was in your public and your personal life, and just escape with the two of us and with a variety of guests. And I mean, we have had, this is now, let's let folks know.
Wait a minute. Wait for the tally, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, here's the radio voice.
Tally, I need a big bell. Go on.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight marks show number 31 of Time Out. Can you believe that? 31. We're not that far off from our 1 year anniversary. I mean, we're only 4 months away.
We'll make it.
Yeah, but I just hope we don't get to a 2 year anniversary. Get my drift?
Well, the whole idea of the show is to have something to do when all the craziness is going on. But do you really think craziness is going to stop?
No, it's not. It's not. But
Well, thank you, Lou. So Lou Johnson said it's a great
Yeah.
name and purpose.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a big old heart for that one. That was super.
let's acknowledge who we got. We got we've got our two Donnas. We've got my dear friend Renee. I love Renee, who is watching down in Florida, a town called Oviedo, Florida. Have you heard of Oviedo, Nancy?
No.
Oviedo,
No.
Oviedo. Anyway, I love Renee. She's great. Thank you to Lou.
She must be one of these people that time further out. There's Renee. She said she loves you.
Well, she's a doll. She really is. And I've gotten to know Renee through quarantine. So yeah, time further out. That's funny, Don. That is funny. Julie Howard.
You know what? I want to play a little bit of my dear friend that's coming on, and also a good friend of yours, and a real friend of jazz. At the real deal, baby. The real deal.
This exciting. We both know this man. I still remember seeing the two of you performing together when he came up to play in Syracuse. Giacomo is as hip as they come. So yeah, let's not. He is anxiously waiting in the waiting room right now.
Yeah, he'll be all right. He's cool, man.
Let's bring him in with a little music first. I know you got something queued up.
Last time I saw Janine, she looked just like a royal queen, and she cruised by with a wealthy guy in her Cadillac limousine. Last time I saw Janine. Last time I saw Janine. I recall when we were 17. I was a beau, 'twas not too long ago, but too short on all that long, long dream to satisfy Janine. Now she's gone from me, moved away from the old neighborhood. I'm certain she's gone for good. Last time I saw Janine, the dollar sign stood in between. It was love lost due to rising costs, but since then I haven't seen Janine.
Giacomo, there you are. We can barely see you, my love.
Really?
Mr.
Yeah.
Gates.
I'm doing the best I can, baby.
I know. Well,
He's in a.
You
I
know what? I
kind of like that dim light. I like the dim lighting in a way. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not used to the bright.
It's all right. We can see you. We can see you.
You can see me? Okay.
We can. Yes.
can you see you?
No, barely. But I know what I look like.
I know what
I thought we were going to be on earlier. I already sent the rhythm section home.
Oh no, man! Who was on? Who was on the date?
I can't tell you.
It was a prize.
Yeah.
So here
Well,
you
I'm
are.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, we all need to see each other. It's getting so nuts.
Thank you for the invitation.
No, you're entirely welcome. It was that had to happen. That was one of them that had to happen.
Yeah, man.
We were waiting. You were like, you've been teaching, so you got kind of hooked up with Zoom a little bit and teaching from home, and so this made this possible. As you can see, I've got this whole mess going on. I've been doing this. I was doing this before
you're produced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's tech savvy. Very savvy.
Yeah. Well, I keep hoping it'll pay off one day, but it won't, man. It's See, Jack, this is going to be good. Finally, someone that gets me. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I feel like Giacomo gets you as maybe better than I do. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, we were talking before the show. I don't know how long we've known each other. Do you, Giacomo?
I'm going to say at least 3 or 4 months, right? No,
Jeez,
probably. I'm going to guess and say at least 20 years, 25 maybe.
I think so. I think so.
Well, it was in the 90s. We did some dates together.
We did. What's that? How long ago it was? Oh my God.
I think it was in the 90s.
I think we met at the Cocoa Beach Jazz Fest.
Could be.
I think that's where we met. When Heidi put that on. You have that picture, Eric?
The Cocoa Beach. Of the two. Yes, I do. Hang on.
Are you watching the football game? What are you doing?
No, I thought you were saying, do I have a picture of like the Cocoa Beach? You're talking about the picture of when the two of you. Yes, hang on. You know I'm always on top of things. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Nancy and Giacomo.
He's putting a picture up. I hope you can see it when he puts it up.
When they first.
Can you see
that?
that?
Oh yeah, dig that.
So that was Cocoa Beach, huh?
That was the Cocoa Beach Jazz Festival, and of course we found each other the minute I heard Giacomo. I said, "Oh, there's one of my people."
and neither of you have aged a day.
Oh, I don't know about that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're taking birthday control pills.
Oh man.
Wait a minute. Do you make?
I don't know if they're working though, baby. I'm not sure they're working.
Did you make that shit up, man? Did you make that up?
What?
The birthday control pills.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm not responsible for birth control, but birthday control, that's me, baby. Yeah, I guess.
So I don't know. I remember there was one band. She had one band, and everybody played with the same band. I remember that.
It's all kind of hazy to me, Nancy. You know.
Well, we've been around a while, and I have not had birthday control, unfortunately. Although I've got all the filters on, so I look like I have.
You're not using any filters. Come on. Stop.
Oh yeah, Zoom has a filter that makes you look better than you really
Really?
look. Should I turn it off to see what I really look like?
I wish I'd have known that because I mean I shined my shoes and everything, you know. I just didn't put them on.
You were telling me some crazy story when we were at the. There's so much fun stuff to talk about because we've got a lot of history. When we were at the Mark Murphy Memorial at St. Peter's Church in New York City. And you were telling me some story about your shoes and how you water skied or something or something.
Oh no, I don't know. I mean, you know, some people always make remarks because I like shoes, and I like different shoes. And somebody made a remark. I had a pair of, I think they were faux crocodile red or something like that, you know. And somebody said, "Oh yeah, wow, I like your shoes. What size are they?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but if you take the heels off, you can water ski with them."
But we're sitting there. We're supposed to be quiet, and I'm cracking up. I'm going, Giacomo, shut up, man! You're like making me.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You know, part of what this whole thing is about, the music, is about a sense of humor and having a good time.
Yeah.
I can remember, I'm not going to mention the names, but two friends of mine, I'll mention, one of them was Bob Duro. Okay?
Oh, yes.
Bob Duro, and it might have been Joe Lovano, were playing together at Birdland. This had to be, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 years ago. And I went, and I'm sitting at the bar, and they're playing. Now, both of those guys are pretty funny, if you know them.
I knew Bob. I haven't known Joe.
No, they have a sense of humor. So they're playing, and whatever they were playing, to me, was funny. I was laughing. And there were people sitting around looking at me like, what's with him? What's he laughing about?
Oh, yes, don't break the jazz.
Because everybody's sitting there like, I'm very focused on the music, you dig. But when it was over, Bob came over to me and said, "Gates, you were the only one who got it, man. You were the only one who was laughing." I mean, laughing is supposed to be a good time. It's all supposed to be a good time.
Well,
I mean, I listen to Thelonious Monk. Now, that music is deep, but he's got a great sense of humor. He makes me smile. He makes me laugh.
There's Bob.
There's Bob Monroe.
I mean, I wish I had a chance to get to know Bob like you did.
You're on the case, man. You come up with a picture of Bob DeRoe.
That's Eric's little job. He's our journalist.
That's my job. I don't really ask any questions. I'm just the video person here, No.
Great. If you ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. You've heard that one before.
Yeah. We had a show last week with Houston Person, and Houston was talking about the same exact thing that you just did. He was talking about how all the old cats, man, Dizzy, Louie, everybody, Lionel Hampton, they were all entertainers.
That's right.
You and I are both entertainers. We include that in with the music, and it's
Can
like,
you hear that phone ringing
we can hear it.
on your end?
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
You want to take the call? Go ahead.
The butler will get it. It's okay. The butler will get it.
Oh, the butler. Wow. Giacomo's got a butler.
Mandrake, you want to get that, baby? Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, my gosh. I would pay to see Giacomo just do stand-up.
He can't stand up anymore.
Oh, stop it. He's not that old.
I do my gigs in a chaise lounge, you did. Lay back.
What was the last gig you did?
Yeah.
I did a gig in October in Northampton, Massachusetts, an outdoor gig. And it was fun to do. It was a little cold, October, Northampton, Mass. But, that's a great little town for art, for culture. People come out for that. So it was fun. I had a great rhythm section. And that was the last time I did a gig. And I'm glad that everybody was, how shall I say, they were paying respect to wearing masks. But it's kind of weird to turn around and see the rhythm section wearing masks and people sitting at tables wearing masks. It's a little bizarre. A couple of people had on like Abraham Lincoln masks. One guy had a Nixon mask on. But most people had, masks. It's just kind of weird.
People have gotten creative. I mean, there's so many different mask designs that are out there now. I mean, people can get very, very creative. But hey, I don't care if you wear a Nixon mask, a Teddy Roosevelt mask.
Right.
Just wear the darn thing.
Right. I wore a ski mask the other day. Went to a bank. They weren't happy about that.
Well, that could cause some eyebrows to raise.
Giacomo loves it because I laugh at everything he says. Such a great
You have to laugh. I mean, gosh. He's got his quick. He may have the quickest wit of anybody we've ever had on. We've only had Giacomo on for 10 minutes already. So.
You're probably going to have me on for about 5 or 6 more. But
that's not true. No, you had enough material to fill up another hour.
So you have a really, your career is a really, really interesting timeline and story to it. And if you don't mind, you've probably, like me at this point, at this juncture, we've told our story 1,000 billion times. But
I always change mine.
Okay, well, go for it.
No.
Tell us what happened.
Well, I started out in this. I didn't start out in this business. I was a fan. As a kid, I took guitar lessons, and I was fortunate enough to have a couple of guitar instructors that were jazzers. But I was a kid. I was a little kid. I was 8 years old, and when I grew up, my father played violin, not for a living, but he played violin very well. And so I grew up listening to him play violin, but he also had played records of classical music and big band. So I heard Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Fletcher Henderson. I heard Cab Calloway.
Yeah, you
said. And then, when I was a kid, in the 1950s and in the 1960s, they were still showing cartoons that were made in the 30s. And if you look at those cartoons now, if you look at the credits, the music was by Duke Ellington.
the music was by Cab Calloway and Fletcher Henderson. Those guys did soundtracks for cartoons.
Mm.
So I just kind of absorbed some of that. And then when I started to take guitar lessons at the age of 8, well, I had a couple of instructors who, I guess they wanted to keep me as a student. So I was a kid. So I would learn songs. I didn't learn how to play the guitar. Like I didn't learn how to get around on it like I wish I did when I got older. But at least I learned how to read. I learned how to, I learned time, and I learned about the music. But I never chased music for a vocation until I was in my late 30s. But I did in my maybe like middle to late teens. I played guitar in a wedding band with some guys that were in their 20s.
Really? I didn't hear that segment.
And when you play in a wedding band, when I was 17 or 18 years old, you played standards. So I could read. I got to see music by Cole Porter and Irving Berlin and Harold Arlen and Jerome Kern and Hoagie Carmichael. So that just kind of opened up something else for me. Yeah, was I listening to the Four Tops and Marvin Gaye and James Brown and the Rolling Stones? Yeah, but I was also listening to Dexter Gordon and Thelonious Monk.
That's the same as me.
I knew who they were, so I'd be somewhere with friends, and they'd be playing. I mean, I even had a friend of mine who was a photographer, a freelance photographer for Rolling Stone magazine, and he used to have press passes to all the concerts, all the rock concerts. And I would go with him. Me and another guy would go with him. We would carry equipment, so we'd get in for free. I saw all the bands that people wanted to see that I didn't care about. First of all, they were too loud. I mean, they were loud. I saw Led Zeppelin. Yeah, it's a good rock and roll band, but man, everything is on 12. So I'd be in the lobby or I'd be backstage because it was loud. But I got to see, I saw Jimi Hendrix at Yale. I saw Vanilla Fudge and Sly and the Family Stone and like that. But I still was listening to Red Garland, But I left Connecticut when I was in my early 20s to go to Alaska because of construction, because I was working construction. I started out as a laborer. I drove a truck for a while. I started driving tractor trailer. I started to run equipment. But there was I'm in Connecticut. There was nothing happening here as far as construction goes. If anything, they'd knock something down to build something up, or repave a road. So I heard about the pipeline and I went up there originally for a year. And I ended up staying about 13 or 14 years with a couple of stints in between, a year in Washington State, almost a year in Arizona, a short time in Louisiana on an offshore drill rig. And then I went back up to Alaska and I got involved. I was off one summer. I came off of a job and I didn't know that they had a festival up there. They had a summer arts festival that lasted for a couple of weeks. And I got involved in that. And they had a little bit of everything, from charcoal drawing to square dancing to harmonica lessons, fiddle lessons, harp, and they had cabaret. Well, that's not really my bag, but why not? So I signed up for this cabaret course, but the reason that I signed up was because the woman that was teaching this cabaret course was a woman by the name of Chris Calloway, Cab's daughter.
Ah.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. So when I heard that, I said, well, that's for me. I just want to be around that. So you had to audition, and I sang, I don't know what, but I got in, and there was probably maybe 12 or 15 students. And there was an older gentleman sitting in the back. I was like, my middle to late 30s. There's a guy in the back writing. I thought he was part of the class. And at the end of the class, everybody had to sing a little bit. He came over to me and he introduced himself. His name was Grover Sales. And Grover Sales was a cat from San Francisco who was a journalist, a writer, a critic, a liner note guy, an educator.
No relation to Soupy, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but he knew Soupy.
Yeah,
And
it's it's an unusual name, though. You're right
yeah,
about
Grover
that.
Sales. He was Dizzy's promo manager in the late 1950s. He was friends with Lenny Bruce and Jonathan Winters. I mean, this guy oozed hip. He was around. So, you know, he introduced himself to me. I didn't know who he was at the time, but he said, you know, where are you from, baby? And I said, well, I live right here in Fairbanks. He said, I didn't ask you that. I asked you where you're from. I said, Connecticut. He said, that's what I thought. I knew you're from the East Coast. So we talked a little while. We hung out, and he was very encouraging. And the headliners that year, at the end of the 2-week festival, was Sarah Vaughan and Steve Allen.
Woo! Oh!
Yeah, this was like 1980, I'm going to say 86, 87. So a lot of people were very encouraging to me. You know, you're never going to get hurt up here. I said, well, I'm not trying to get hurt up here. I live up here. I work up here. But, you know, I went up there for a year, and 12, 13 years went by. So I thought, you know, this was fun. I mean, I was always a fan of the music. I delved in it. I never was chasing it. So about 1989, I said, well, I think I've had enough. I was established. I mean, I wasn't living in an igloo. I had a condominium. You know, I went to work. I'd go somewhere remote. They'd fly me in an airplane somewhere. I had a union job. I was established in the union. I was making bread, and I was making money. I had probably $500 in 3 or 4 banks. Yeah. And I was having a great time. I mean, I love
it. You don't understand, Eric. That's a lot of money.
No, I know what he meant. I
mean, he was joking, but like that's a lot.
I got enough money to last me the rest of my life if I live another few months. But I was having a great time. I loved it up there. It was a little brisk in the winter, but it was beautiful, and I loved what I was doing. I was making a good dollar. But I thought, well, it's time for a change. So when I decided that I was going to go to the East Coast and go to New York and try to make some noise, of course, people said to me, you're established here. You can't just leave here and go there and try to get in the music business. Well, the same people, different people, they had different faces, same people with different faces. They were the ones that said to me, well, you can't go to Alaska without a job, without knowing anybody. Well, why not? You know, I was young and foolish. And if it didn't work out, I could either come back or go somewhere else. So in 1988, 89, I came back to Connecticut. I could go to New York all the time, try to sit in, try to get heard, try to make some noise. And that was the beginning of that. And actually Grover Sales, I kept in touch with Grover. And a few times when I was on the West Coast, I would go out there and do some dates, and I would stay at his house, him and his wife, Georgia. And, you know, I still see Georgia. I speak with Georgia once in a while. Grover passed. But he was instrumental in encouraging me, him and several other people. And even when I got here, I was lucky enough to meet the cats who I never thought I would meet. I had their LPs. I never thought I'd be on the same bandstand as Billy Mitchell or Lou Donaldson or Walter Bishop Jr. or any of that, but it happened. So it was a ball.
Now, did Sarah Vaughan have something to do with you leaving?
Well, she, you know, I was encouraged by her in an offhand way, but some of the things, you know, things get stretched.
Yeah.
In print, or after the fourth retell of the story by the 5th person.
Okay.
Things get a little bent out of shape.
Understood. Yes.
But I did meet some people who were very encouraging, and that's what made me say, well, you know, why not? You know.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had some slices of that are. Nancy, do you remember there used to be a place in Seaford, Long Island called Sonny's Place?
I had heard the name, but I couldn't tell you a lot about it. No.
Okay. No, I thought you might have been aware of it. Well, that was the joint. I mean, that was a little club in Seaford, Long Island.
But what year are you talking about, though, man?
Well, it was probably happening from the early 80s, but I only became aware of it in the early 90s.
Oh,
I think it was probably around for 25 or 30 years.
In the
And
early
Sonny,
80s,
the
that
cat
was
who
in
owned
Philly.
Yeah, the Sonny, the cat who owned it, I mean, he was friends with Sarah Vaughan and Joe Williams. And I mean, they all used to kind of pass through and they'd stop at Sonny's place. I mean, Sarah Vaughan would stop in and sit in at Sonny's when she was in New York because she knew Sonny. You know, I remember going there one night and who's the cat with the, like a Billy Eckstein, but wasn't Billy Eckstein, had that same voice. And it wasn't the guy who played with John Coltrane.
Wasn't Johnny Hart?
I don't. No, I know who he means. Oh darn! You're asking. My brain is much too old, and
Yeah,
I
I can't-
exactly. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Sure.
handsome guy on a
not Arthur,
mustache, brother,
not Arthur.
older brother.
Arthur Prysock.
Arthur Prysock?
Arthur Prysock.
That's who it is,
Hello.
man.
Wow.
I knew it.
Hello, Arthur
Wow.
Prysock was sitting in there sitting in Arthur Prysock, you know.
Hmm.
So I called up Sonny. I wanted to do a date, and he says, "Well, what you do is you come by on a Wednesday night, and we have a jam session. And Billy Mitchell runs the jam session, and if we like what you got, maybe we'll give you a date." So I'm thinking, Billy Mitchell? Billy Mitchell from the Basie Band? Yeah, Billy lives near here. Wow. So I take a ride to Seaford, and I go, and here's this rhythm section with Billy Mitchell, and they play the first set. And then at the end of the set, Billy Mitchell says, "Okay, we're going to open this up. We'll do 2 or 3 more sets." And he said, there's a bunch of horn players taking out their horns, trumpets, saxophones, they're putting their mouthpieces on. Billy Mitchell says, and I'm going to leave out some of the expletives, but he says, "Well, I see we got a lot of horn players here tonight. So when you come up to play, don't blow more than 2 choruses because Charlie Parker was a Maryland farmer genius." He said, and he never played more than 4 or 5. And all these guys are putting their horns away, you know.
Like, why?
So anyway, I'm just sitting there, and I approached him after the first set, and I said, "Mr. Mitchell, my name is, I'd like to sit in." And he said, "Yeah, all right, what do you play, man?" I said, "I'm a singer." "All right, maybe we'll bring you up on the last set." Okay. So they bring me up on the last set, and he says to me, "What do you got?" So I turned to the piano player and Billy Mitchell, and I said, "Well, can we do In Walked Bud? Is F minor okay?" And which is the standard key. And Billy Mitchell says, "Never mind what key it's in, just sing it." I said, "Okay." So I sing the song. He plays a solo, I scat one, and it goes out, and we finish. And I turn to him and I say, "Thank you very much for letting me sing." And I go to walk off, and he grabs me by the shirt. He says, "Wait a minute. As long as you're up here, you might as well do another one." I said, "Oh yes, I passed.
I passed the audition.
Yeah, I passed the test, the bebop test, you know."
Yeah.
So they let me sing another one. I don't know what it was. And I thanked him, and I went off the bandstand. And later on, Sonny gave me a date. And a couple of months later, I come back with a rhythm section. And we're on the bandstand, and who walks in but Billy Mitchell? And he's got his horn. And we finished the set, and I go over to the bar, and he says to me, "Say, baby, when you sat in, you played a couple of good tunes. So I figured you'd have to have a pretty decent rhythm section. Do you mind if I sit in?" I said, "Do I mind if you sit in? You can put a chair on the bandstand and stay as long as you like." And he just looked at Sonny and smiled, you know, like, well, at least he knows what time it is. So and stuff like that, it was like, to me, was, whew, you know, that was the end. That was a gasser.
And you live in Connecticut now. Are you near where you were growing up as a kid, or is it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So did you used to go in the city to hear me? Yeah, you used to go in.
Oh, I'd go, I'm 60 miles from the city.
Oh, I know. I've been to your place.
Yeah, so I'd go back and forth all the time. And I was sometimes working a little part-time job. I did all kinds of things in the beginning. I was working part-time construction. I was helping a landscaper build concrete walls. I was driving a school bus for a while. I was driving a limo for a while. And, you know, I would maybe be in New York City until 2:30 in the morning. I'd come home, I'd sleep about 4 hours, and I'd get up and I'd go pick up a school bus. And, you know, I'm listening to like the best of the best. And then 4 hours later, I've got like a bus full of screaming 14-year-olds.
Oh,
Which really kept me grounded.
Yeah, man. But when you're that age, when you're young like that, you can do. I can remember.
You can do it.
I can do it. I can remember getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep and then going to do a gig, and you know, it's unreal. I'm lucky. I got to sleep for a couple days now.
You remember the first club? You remember like the first club you ever went to in Manhattan? Is it,
The first club that I worked at or went to?
No, the first club that you went to like as a fan to see someone.
Oh wow.
Or maybe just one that just sticks out to you.
I
as
mean,
like,
I can
man,
remember going to some clubs that aren't there anymore. I remember going to a place called the Wonder Bar. I remember going to Fat Tuesdays.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember going to the Village Gate and the Village Vanguard.
Yeah.
Of course, I went to what Lenny Bruce lovingly called toilets. I went to a lot of toilets. You know, like Richie's back room. You know.
Yeah, but that's where it was happening, man. That's where.
That's when it was happening. I never made slugs. I wish I did.
Did either of you ever go to Bradley's?
Oh, I caught Bradley's, yeah.
Yeah, Bradley's.
I caught the tail end of Bradley's because I came back in '89, and that was a place that, I mean, that was a musician's hang, and the best piano players, the best of the best piano players played there.
Yeah.
And when Hank Jones would play there, you'd see everybody else. I mean, how do you? Hank Jones is playing piano, sitting at the bars like Barry Harris and Kirk Lightsey, Rufus Reed. I mean, Ray Drummond. I got to meet the head bartender, Charlie Turin, who I became very good friends with. That place was something else, man. That was out of a movie.
Really? Yeah. I never got there, but I had a number of recordings at the radio station. That was, I want to say there might have been a Kenny Barron recording, Kenny Barron Trio live at Bradley's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's why it just came into my mind, and I thought I would just ask you. And
3:30, 4 a.m. There'd be music going on in there.
Yeah.
It's really disheartening to see what's going on in the city right now. And I mean, we didn't want to talk about anything too sad, but it's a reality, and I wonder, what goes through your head about where when we come out on the other side of this, if we do, are we gonna play again, man? Are we gonna?
I don't want to be neither ridiculously optimistic or ridiculously cynical and pessimistic. So I really don't know. I'm hoping that I don't think anything will be the same. I really don't know. It's going to be too bad if there isn't live culture to attend. It's going to be a drag for everybody. Performers, audiences, presenters, producers. It's not going to be good if this goes away. I hope it doesn't. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't even like to use the word. I won't even use it, but I don't use it. It begins with an I. But I prefer to call myself disengaged. I'm not isolated. I'm just disengaged.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. To be very honest, it doesn't look good.
Well, I think it will reinvent itself.
You're probably right, because everything does.
Because jazz hasn't gone away. We haven't gone away. And there's a plethora of new people who are interested in it, believe it or not, The colleges, of course, are teaching. You and I have these conversations. We could even delve into that a little bit about what's happening now with the young people that are coming up and what they're like as players and singers but all of those people are going to want to play. They're all going to, so people will open clubs. It'll happen. It's just that it tears our hearts up to see the places that we hung and played at disappearing,
Yeah.
That's the thing
Yeah.
that's sad. But
I had a student, a prior student 3 or 4 years ago. And some of the students are a real ball I teach at Wesleyan, and they stay in touch. They just give you a ring once in a while or email you, and they want to know what's shaking, And I have a couple of students who it had to be more than a year ago, maybe about a year ago this time, I did a little gig at Mesro in New York City. And they came to.
I saw that.
Oh, well, they came to the gig. And this cat, he called me tonight. And now these are kids that graduated from college maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So, when they go to listen to a band, it's a big room. It might, even at a concert, it might be.
Yeah.
It could be either 300 or 400 people, or it could be a soccer stadium, But this cat was saying, how romantic it was in his mind to go to this place in New York City in Greenwich Village and walk down about 6 steps and go into this kind of cave. And there's this long room and it's dark. There's no windows, but it's kind of lit up joyously, even though it's dim.
Yeah.
And to hear this music in a very intimate way, there's like 70 people in the place, 90 people. He said, man, I never experienced anything like that. It was great. Well, it's going away.
I got this, man. Let's look at a little bit of this.
Oh, let's check it out.
This is Giacomo. It's not a real clear thing, but this is Mesro.
Oh, fun and laughter. Lots of folks get out of hand because it's only kids they're after. Shady lady and her lover operating under.
Oh, it's Ed Howard.
She knows sin and virtue don't mix. Her mama raised her prim and proper, but no wild horses couldn't stop her when she's on a man up for kicks.
Wow, man, that was great.
Oscar Brown Jr. Kicks.
That was Mr. Kicks, right?
Mr. Kicks, Oscar Brown Jr.
Nice. Man, just seeing that, it's like feels like that's the old world. Man.
Is that John playing piano? Was that John?
John DiMartino, yeah.
And that was Ed Howard on bass.
Yeah.
He played on my last recording, and man, the stuff that he came up with, the way John arranges, and you've done a couple records with him, the way he arranges is he leaves space for the players to do their thing, he lets them hear what's around them and paint musically.
Yeah.
And the shit. Whoop.
I didn't hear anything.
The jazz,
Carol, come on, please.
Oh, I get it. I get excited. The stuff that came out, man, of Ed on my record was just wonderful.
Well, they're two very high-end players.
Yeah. John is probably the most lyrical. His touch on the piano is like nothing I've ever heard. I've never stood next to someone that has that touch that he has. It's uniquely his. Have you heard this? Have you heard Emmett Cohen?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays. He likes singers. That's why I talk about him, because he has a show on. He has all singers all the time.
Oh, yeah?
I'm saying that because there's a lot of cats that don't want to work with singers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a choice. On one hand, I understand why. And on the other hand, if you play well for a singer, then a singer will call you.
Yeah.
I don't know for what.
By the way,
they
Nance,
might call you something else. But that's the gist of it. I mean, there's a lot of great musicians, but if they're not appropriate for the moment, then you can't use it.
Well, I'm a stickler about that. I know, and you and I are both you more bebop than but I got a lot of bebop going on, and I know who fits in that environment, and I know who doesn't.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
and you know what's the nice thing about that is the grown-ups in the business, the grown-ups, they don't care. I mean, they don't, if you don't call them for the date, they don't go home whining.
Yeah, it ain't personal, man.
No, not at all. But there's been some instances in my career where I had to change my mind about what I was going to do, and I had to call a few people and say, look, I'm going to do another thing. And
Yeah, I know.
it's hard. It's
Well,
hard.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I maybe I can get away with more because I'm one of the boys, but I remember a guy saying to me one time, who I used to work with, and he was always like he would show up on the downbeat, which makes the leader very
Ooh, that makes
anxious.
Yeah.
So, years went by, I ran into this cat. He says, hey, man, how come you don't call me anymore? I said, well, you have a problem with time.
Wow.
He said, I have really good time. I said, no, I mean this kind of time, you don't show up on time.
Right. Yeah, there's two kinds of time, right?
A couple people said they can't find us.
Yeah, I don't know. We have a little technical issue. I actually just
you're right there. We're on timeout, and we're on my page too.
Well, the show is running, but I guess there's an issue with people, I guess, not being able to comment. So I just got actually a text from one of our devoted viewers, Joe Cortini, who I don't think Giacomo doesn't know, but Joe is a fantastic drummer, great guy, runs the Fulton Jazz Festival out here. Nancy knows him well. Anyway, Joe just texted me and said that the commenting, I guess, he couldn't comment, but he said Giacomo is a gift, and he wanted me to pass along that Joe's son uses your interpretation of How High the Moon and ornithology for inspiration.
Oh, solid.
So,
thank you.
Just wanted to pass that along. And I know, Nancy, you know Joe's son.
Joe
Cortini's son, yeah. And so, anyway, he's a big fan.
Thank you, Joe. I'm knocked out.
Yeah.
Why I don't see anybody. How do we find out if anybody? I mean, it says we're live, but
yeah, no, we are live. In fact, I even checked. I double checked Facebook, and we are streaming, but for whatever reason, people are not able to comment right now. So it's kind of an odd thing. But
you mean you set up that people can comment? They can write you something.
Oh yeah, they can write and say,
they ask questions. They do, yeah.
This guy's sense of humor is just terrible or something like, no, I mean, no, like if somebody has a question or somebody wants to say, hey, I loved your Miles Davis recording or your Gil Scott-Heron recording. So right now the comments seem to be down, but the show is airing. Hey, can I throw a picture up, Nance?
Yeah, please do.
Just because you mentioned on somebody who worked on your on your last recording, and of course your last recording had to do with remembering Mark Murphy, and then I came across this picture online.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah.
And that's Sheila Jordan in that photo too, right?
That's Sheila Jordan. Wow, man.
I don't know.
That was taken in Belgium.
Okay, I just know you, Mark, and Sheila. I know 3 of the 5.
Yeah, and I can't. I'm embarrassed. The singer, the lady on the extreme right, she's from Kansas City.
Okay.
She's a really good singer. I can't think of her name. And the cat standing next to me is from France.
Okay. Well,
he's also a very good singer. And Sheila, the gentleman behind Sheila was putting together some singers for a bebop vocal.
Okay.
And Sheila, I'll do my quick impersonation of Sheila Jordan. Listen, man, if you're going to call some bebop singers, you better get Giacomo Gates. So I tipped my hat to Sheila. She got me on the date.
Yeah.
And it was a ball to do that date with those 4 other singers.
Right.
Mark
right.
Murphy and Sheila Jordan are like, you know, that's the real deal.
Yeah.
Well, again, no disrespect to the other 2 singers.
Yeah, I apologize for not remembering their names.
No apologies necessary. I mean, I just wanted to get your impressions. Like, what did Mark Murphy mean to you? I mean, I know obviously Mark meant so much to Nancy professionally and personally, but what, you know, I mean, when you think of Mark Murphy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, listen, man, you know I'm long-winded and loquacious.
We love that about you.
If you ask me a question like that, then I got to tell you a story.
Please do. That's what we want.
Please, we're all ears.
I was a fan of Mark Murphy's long before I was in this business. I happened to like his approach, his sound. I liked his vibe. So I just come to the East Coast, and there was a club called Jay's. You remember that? I think it was like Broadway and 96th or something like that. And they're having Mark Murphy. Well, I had a cassette out. I recorded a cassette, you know, and I sent it to Judy, who owned Jay's. I sent it to her, and I followed up with a few phone calls and never got a response. So I see that Mark Murphy is playing at Jay's, so I go. I sit at the bar, I catch the first set. They finish the set, and Mark comes and sits at the bar. He's about 3 or 4 stools away from me. I acknowledge him. I introduce myself. He was very open and friendly, funny. He said, "Yeah, man, I heard your name kicked around." I said, "Well, you know, I'm a fan, man. Thanks a lot." So they go back to do the second set, and I'm staying. So Mark does a couple of songs, and then he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's really great to see some friends here and some of my peers. I'd like to announce that sitting over here is Sheila Jordan." Wow, everybody applauds Sheila Jordan. He's then sitting over there in the back in the shadows is another wonderful friend, a singer, Shirley Horn. Whoa, everybody's applauding Shirley Horn.
Whoa.
That's my
And
queen.
then he says, and one of my favorite singers are here. One of my favorite male singers. And I'm going, wow, who's here? John Hendricks? Joe Williams? Who's here? And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Giacomo Gates." Now, nobody knows my name. I never did a gig in New York. People applaud anyway because Mark Murphy said one of my favorite male singers, and he applauded. So, you know, then he goes back, he finishes the rest of the set. So at the end of the gig, I say to him, "Hey, Mark, thanks very much for mentioning my name. I appreciate that." He says, "Hey, man, you know, anything I could do to help?" So I'm walking out of the club, and Jay is standing near the door saying goodnight to the people that have attended. And she stops me. She says, "Giacomo, I got your cassette. I never had a chance to listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm overwhelmed with music." I said, "Yeah." She said, "But if Mark is a friend of yours and he likes what you do, I'd love to give you a date." So Mark Murphy got me my first gig in New York City.
There you go.
Son of a gun. Wow.
And then after that, I worked with him several times. I became friendly with him. We hung out. He had a crazy sense of humor. We worked with a lot of the same people at different times, so we had some stories. And as a singer, I would go listen to him not because he was a friend, but because he was one of the people that I would go listen to, and I knew I was going to learn something.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would go to listen to Mark Murphy and maybe not be that fond of the material that he chose to sing, but that didn't matter because he was always, you know, from my point of view, he was always interesting to listen to. He always took chances, and he always had a sense of humor on the bandstand. And sometimes he didn't. Maybe he was very dark about something. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Because I tried to go see the best of the best.
Yep.
I got to see Joe Williams. I don't know how many times I saw Joe Williams. I saw Joe Williams once with Count Basie in Washington, in Aberdeen, Washington, with the Count Basie band in 1978.
I love Joe
was
Williams.
out there.
I love him.
I said, wow, I took the night off from construction. And let me tell you something, when you were construction nights, I'm talking about all, we're building roads. If you take the night off, you don't get to come back the next night. But I asked the superintendent, I said, listen, man, tomorrow night's my birthday. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I got an opportunity to go see Count Basie and Joe Williams. And he knew who they were.
Cool.
He said, go ahead, baby, have a good time. And I can't tell you how many times I saw John Hendricks and Company. I never saw Labor Hendricks and Ross. But I saw Annie Ross many times. I saw John Hendricks many times. I saw John Hendricks and Company. I saw Carmen McRae and Sarah Vaughan. And I caught Jackie Paris before he left. And I caught some singers of note. And yeah, hello, there you go.
I knew you were going to, you mentioned John in passing earlier, and I knew you'd mention him again. And I know Aria.
Yeah.
But,
I did a couple of dates with Aria.
Yeah, but
John was John
special.
Was a genius at what he did. He was a genius at what he did. Every time I'd hear something, I'd say, wow, can't top that. And then he comes out with Freddie Freeloader, where he writes lyrics to everybody's solo.
Oh,
yeah.
Then he sings Coltrane solo.
He was one in a million. One in a million.
I never met Eddie Jefferson, but I got to work with Richie Cole many, many times.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I felt if I was accepted by Richie, who worked with Eddie, then I felt like I was at least on the right track.
A drummer friend of mine who has an incredible career.
There you go.
Dan DiPurio. He's pretty well known.
Danny.
He was on the gig when Eddie got shot.
Ooh.
He was in the drum chair.
Eddie got shot. Eddie Jefferson got shot on a gig.
Yeah, outside the club, man. And it wasn't like he was in the way of a bullet. It was not like a premeditated thing or a drug deal or he just got shot.
Whoa.
Dan told me all about it, man.
Wow.
But Giacomo and I share a deep love for Eddie Jefferson. We both share that.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie taught me so much, man. He taught me. I don't even know where to begin, with him. Where do you begin with this cat? Did he sing perfect pitch? No. Did he have a great instrument? No.
Well, he had a jazz sound.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that.
He had a real jazz sound.
It's funny you said.
And he had great time, and he was in the band.
Yeah, he was a member of the band. That's what I mean. That's what I try to explain to my students. When you are a jazz singer, you are another instrumentalist on the bandstand. You're not a singer. If you're like a singer out in front, then that becomes cabaret. That's another whole thing. It's a whole different bag, man. But it's funny. I was thinking about it before we came on tonight. Thinking about how a lot of the young people coming up, their voices sound trained to me. They sound like trained singers. Whereas you and I we have like this speaking voice jazz sound that is, no one's doing. I don't know who does it anymore. Who even does it? There's no people coming up that do it. I mean, my students are doing it because I make them do it.
Yeah, well, I want to hear the way you sound when you talk is the way I want to hear.
Hello.
If how about this? If you sing like that and you talk like this, well, then that ain't you. It's singing.
It's not you. Exactly.
So another story comes to mind. When I first came back to the East Coast, I thought I should take a few lessons from somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, I've been like a natural singer, I'm a natural singer. I got to learn something somewhere. And I went to a woman in Westport, Connecticut. And I said, I'd like to take some singing lessons. And she said, well, what do you sing? And I said, well, I'm kind of a straight ahead singer. I sing standards and I sing some, quote, jazz tunes, whatever that means. So she said, well, let me hear you sing something. And I think I sang Disappointed, Charlie Parker's solo over Lady Be Good, Eddie Jefferson's lyric, because that's sort of the kind of bag I'm coming from. I didn't want to sing Over the Rainbow because I'm not coming from that. I wanted her to hear where I'm coming from. So I sing this thing, and she says to me, well, she said, well, you're very relaxed. and you breathe in most of the right places. She said, but you sound like a tenor saxophone.
Well, then you said, thank you, right?
I said, thank you. She said, well, she said, I didn't mean it as a compliment. But
oh my
still,
God.
I learned how to breathe from her. But also I learned how to breathe from listening to the best of the best. I mean, you know, you don't interrupt yourself. You don't interrupt the phrase. You know, you breathe at the beginning of the phrase on the vowel if it's available. You know, you take a breath on the comma or the period. You don't say, I get no kick from champagne. I mean, that doesn't work. I hear it all the time.
Well, you know, you breathe where you would breathe if it was a sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it. The whole classical approach of finishing the complete phrase, and I mean all the time, every single phrase getting finished. That isn't what we do.
No,
because we're telling a story, and we are imitating horns. Of course, we're imitating horns.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think what I love so much about both of you is that, I mean, you both are not only great storytellers when you sing, but I feel like, and I've heard both of you perform on record, but more importantly live, is that there are times when you sing, I feel like you're singing at the same time and you're almost having a conversation. It's like, you get what I'm saying? It's like
I hope so. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of aiming for that. I'm saying something.
Yes.
There might be notes on it, but I'm trying to say something.
Yes, it's like a mixture of talking and singing, and you, the two of you, have it down to a science. Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, people need to understand that this music came from the field. I mean, this was storytelling in its most pristine form. You know, and it got brought forward. You know, to many cities where all the influences of the music in that city. I mean, we can talk about where the tree goes, the jazz tree goes. You know, but Giacomo and I are both curators of bebop and swing, and I don't hear that anywhere. I don't know I don't know what will happen when we expire, dear.
We're going to expire?
That's
it's printed on my arm.
There is.
Hell, I wasn't ready for that.
Please.
It said,
let's not talk about expiration.
You get an expiration date?
Come on.
I know when it's coming.
No. Can we just skip to 2022 now?
Oh man.
Oh well, I don't know why. I'm very concerned. I'm very thrown off because it's no one can see us. For some reason, it's the only show we've done that is not live, and yet when I turn my page on, it's there. So
well, again, I think we're live. I just got a comment from Beth Ann, who, again, for Giacomo, who doesn't know Beth Ann, she's Joe Cortini's a partner, and Beth seems to think that it might be a Facebook issue due to, you know, like maybe copyright issues because
I was wondering.
And so maybe the Facebook police are cracking down. So.
Yeah, but here's my argument. I get this with YouTube all the time. What you guys don't know is that we all paid for the rights to that music, man.
Yeah.
We paid the publishing on that stuff. Or the record label did.
Yeah.
You know, so, come on. This is not some sort of issue here.
No.
I have the link. The show will go up. I'll put it on YouTube, and I'll share it, and everybody can watch it again.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not for anything, but I several people who got a hold of me and said, "Hey, man, I know you're going to be on Facebook with Eric Cohen and Nancy Kelly. We'll be tuning in."
Oh yeah, there was the most amount of guests I've ever seen for anybody that we have had on the show.
Really?
there was like,
Is my hair okay?
your hair
Never looked better.
Your
Never
hair's
looked-
more than okay, baby.
Hey.
You're so pretty, it's a shame.
Hey,
Trying to
speaking,
be pretty, baby.
speaking of storytellers, were either of you a fan of this artist?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Clarence Beeks.
Is that real name? Oh wow, I never knew that until now.
If anybody knows it, it'll be Giacomo. Because
I figured he wasn't born
you know,
King Pleasure.
He was
but-
the first one to record. He did it differently. The lyric that everybody knows is "There I go, there
Yeah.
I go, there I go,
Right.
there I go. Pretty baby, you are the soul that snaps my control." But Eddie wrote it first, and Eddie said,
Oh.
"There I go, there I go, there I go, there I go again.
Ooh.
You are the soul that snaps my control." He was at a party. King Pleasure was at a party, so was Eddie. And King Pleasure heard it and got it recorded first.
Hmm.
And Eddie said, "Well, he beat me to it, but that's okay. It's only going to help me." That's the way cats were then, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
but is
he
that the
had-
note? Is
He
that
had a very
note in the?
mellifluous sound. King Pleasure had a nice sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the first people to do it.
Sure. Sure.
Vocalese.
Hmm.
In fact, I have a recording of what do they call it? It's one of the album. It's a CD, a compilation, where he sings. King Pleasure is singing with 3 bips and a bop. That's Babs Gonzalez,
Ah.
Eddie Jefferson, and John Hendricks.
Wow.
Wild to hear them guys singing background for King Pleasure.
Man, wow.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
I do a great. I found a. Oh, okay. Here we go. The brain. The
Don't have a senior moment here.
The brain just stops working.
That's because you have too much information. That's what it is.
She
Oh,
does.
it's a computer, and the files are just the hard drive is full.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's what it is,
The
man.
hard drive is full.
And so your body automatically deletes some shit.
There it is.
And then when you go try to find it, you can't find it.
I got a surprise for Giacomo here. I didn't realize. It's amazing what you can find online. This was actually 20 years ago.
Wow.
Giacomo and Frank Malfitano and the great Dr. Mike Gurrier, great jazz programmer with a Coltrane shirt, and that was that might have been your first time in Syracuse.
Look how cute you are, Giacomo.
Cute. I never been called cute.
I called you cute.
Come on, well, Giacomo knows the song "Cute." He knows the Neil Hefti song. He's not being used to being called it, I guess. So
But look at him, he's adorable.
look at that, yeah. Nance, don't you think?
Frank, I can't get over Frank. Look at Frank. Holy cow.
Yeah, I
Frank
think
would
that was
probably tried to watch this tonight, but I don't know what. I don't know.
By the way,
that was the first time that I had went up and did the Syracuse Festival.
yeah, and I mean, think about all the jazz festival directors. I mean, gosh, this is just a absolute
Oh yeah, man, this is a real drag.
doomsday scenario for them, and
It's a real drag.
it is. But again, we don't want to drag. We don't want to
No.
because this has been a very uplifting
Very
conversation.
very.
And,
Do you sing at home? Do you sing? Do you do anything to keep your chops together?
Yeah.
Or what are you doing?
Yeah, I play piano badly. I would never play piano for anybody because I play for a student. I don't have chops. I always say that
Get
I
rid
can
of.
play anything as long as it's rubato, But I got good time, and I can play. I could just clunk away at the changes. So I'm always looking for new material, even though I don't know where the next date's going to be. But yeah, I'm always looking for something new and different. I'm always listening to something. I mean, last night I was in Paris listening to Thelonious Monk live in Paris. The night before that, I was in, Denmark listening to Dexter Gordon. It's all on YouTube. And I just, I try to listen to people that most of them are gone, but, I'm a fan of, like I said, Jimmy Scott, Jackie Paris, Anita O'Day, some of the lesser known, I mean, I've got a Johnny Mercer compilations of songs where Johnny Mercer sings all the songs.
What? Oh, I want to
Johnny
hear.
Mercer was a pretty good singer.
Oh my God, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, Johnny Mercer could sing.
Who
I'm
is
sure
it?
he's on YouTube.
My friend Danny says I don't listen to anything past 1950.
Now, for instance, the song "I Thought About You." Right? I
Jimmy
took a
Van
trip on a
Heusen.
train and I thought about you.
Yeah.
Listen, I passed a shadowy lane and I thought about you. No, that's not what Johnny Mercer sings. Johnny Mercer wrote it. Johnny Mercer says, I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. We passed a shadowy lane and I thought about you. In other words, we on the train passed a shadowy lane.
Right.
So I like to pay respect to the composer and the lyricist.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I don't mess with their stuff.
I'm a stickler for it.
The first time around, it belongs to them. Second time around, it's mine.
Exactly. That's what I say. After the solo, you got it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes of any artist I've ever known over the years and interviewed is actually on your website, which people, and again, even if for some reason they're not able to tune in live this moment, they'll be able to watch the show, the replay of the show. I just love this quote that's on your website, giacomogates.com. It's in your bio where you talk about, and I'm going to quote you here. I think I'm not misquoting you. Some of my favorite singers are Dexter Gordon, Ben Webster, and Lester Young. They were singing through the horn. If that isn't singing, I don't know what is. That's a quote of yours. And Nance, how many times on the show have we talked about, talk to singers, vocalists, whose influences were instrumentalists?
Oh, I don't let them listen to singers. I always had, I teach every day. I said, don't listen to anybody because they're doing their version of it. You got to go. First of all, read the sheet music. Learn the tune, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if you want to hear a few people and what they're thinking about, that's okay. But learn the tune first. I mean, I bust them every time. I said, that's not your line. I know it's not your line.
Right. That's because we're listening. I mean, no. If you listen to Ella, and then you hear somebody sing Ella's lick, well, then you know that's Ella's. That's not, So for me, I mean, you should learn everybody's licks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but
then
for
put
me,
them all together and come up with your own.
Right.
I would much rather you'd listen to a horn because it
right.
Even though they don't know yet, even though they're not aware yet that the horn players all know the lyrics. And they're working that lyric, man. But what I want them to grab out of there is the emotion and the freedom. I mean, if they're taking liberties, but they get to, because they know the story. But it's a thing. I don't want them to have preconceived ideas, with these tunes. It's.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah. Or have preconceived thoughts of what the story is about and then be in the moment.
We go over the lyrics. We sit with the first thing we do is we sit with just the lyrics and we go, what is this tune about? What does this person feel like? What do they feel like? The one that's telling that story on that page. One of my teaching tools is God Bless the Child. I have tunes that I teach. I use them because I want them to take away something out of it. I'll tell them right off I say, I don't care if you ever sing this. I just
Right.
I want you to take away something from it.
Right.
And I got so many kids. I got the ones that want to go to college and they want to do auditions and.
Well, I was going to say, I've had a couple of kids come up to me, Wesleyan, almost 20 years. This semester is different because I was teaching on Zoom.
Yeah, the Zoom thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But I've had kids come up to me. Let's say they took a semester freshman year. They took a couple of semesters, and maybe I didn't see them in their sophomore year. Then their junior year, they took 2 more semesters. Maybe they take 1 more their senior. So before they would graduate, they'd come in. And they say, I just, wanted to say goodbye. I'm graduating this year. Now, maybe in the 20 years that I have been teaching at Wesleyan, maybe this happened 5 or 6 times. Now, that's not a lot, but it is a lot. Dig. They would come in and say, well, I took this class for a couple of reasons. Number one, I didn't know much about jazz, and I thought I could learn something about jazz. These are people that are they're not trying to be singers. Mm-hmm. They're just taking classes in college.
Right.
So I thought I'd learn a little bit about jazz. Some of them have sung previously, some of them haven't. That doesn't matter to me. Then they say, I thought it would be fun, and I thought it would be probably an easy credit. Well, I learned a lot about jazz because one of the first things that happen when they come into my class, and it's all one-on-one, they listen to somebody. Every time they come in, they listen to somebody different. I play them somebody different. We talk about the tune, and then we work on a song.
Do you play the same things, or do you just go by your what you feel like playing that day?
I play different things for different students.
Yeah. Okay.
And what I think will work for them, and how I feel. It's a combination of a lot of things. They say, so I learned a little bit about jazz. I got turned on to a whole bunch of people that I didn't know about. I learned some songs that I never heard of. It wasn't that easy of a credit, but it was fun and enjoyable. But here's what happened the most. I used to be able to go to a party or to someone's dorm room or someone's apartment or be in someone's car, and whatever they were playing, I was fine with. Now I'm not.
Thank you.
Oh, hello.
Home run. Home run, Giacomo.
So really what I gave them is a discerning ear, because they all know who Ella Fitzgerald is and they all know who Frank Sinatra is, but only by name. Well, what do you know about Frank Sinatra? Well, I know New York, New York, and I did it my way. Solid. Listen to this. And I play them Frank Sinatra with Count Basie 1960, Pennies from Heaven.
Mm.
And they go, wow. Well, yeah. I mean, how can you not like Count Basie? But if you never heard it, you don't know anything about it. So I just try to turn them on to something that they don't have the opportunity to hear. Because if you turn on the radio, they're not going to be playing Count Basie unless you go to a specific jazz station. Perhaps, Eric, when you were on the radio, you might play some. But, I mean, that's, a small bit in time.
Right.
Yeah, Count Basie's all over YouTube, but you got to go to him. He ain't going to come to you.
That's for sure.
So when these kids hear Count Basie, or when they hear, I put, like Nancy, like you said, I put what's new. I give them the chart for what's new. They don't know how to read music. Some do, some don't. I give them, here's a piece of music with what's new on it. And then I say, okay. And I play Dexter Gordon playing what's new.
Yeah.
They go, wow, you can hear the words. Well, hello. So that gives them a different sense of it, because they never heard that before. I mean, I heard Lou Donaldson play You've Changed. Woo, gave me goosebumps.
Oh, sweet Papa. Yeah.
Who did I just have? I don't know what tune it was. It was either There Will Never Be Another You. I had her listening to Sonny Rollins. Well, it may not have been that tune. It doesn't matter. But I send them to horn players. I always send them to horn players. You know.
And certain horn players are more lyrical than others.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Sonny's he'll get out, but on this particular tune, he was sticking close to that story. You know, I don't know which one it was. I'd have to look it up. But anyway.
Now I got
Yeah,
Ben.
I mean, I'm reading a book right now, The Genius of Louis Armstrong, written by James Lincoln Collier.
Hmm.
So it was written in 1984, 1985. The first 50 pages, they don't even talk about Louis Armstrong. They're talking about New Orleans. So it's very informative. I mean, they're talking about, I'm learning a lot from it. And I learned how, I thought I knew something about Louis Armstrong. Well, I knew a little bit, but I'm learning a lot. And is that history way back? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, the Hot Five in 1927. But this author, James Lincoln Collier, James Collier Lincoln. Yeah, wait a minute. It's James Lincoln Collier. In fact, I met him through Grover Sales when Grover came to visit New York. He said, I'm going to be at such and such I'm going to be at this address, man. Come by. And I go to the address, I ring the bell, and it was this guy in the Greenwich Village, James Lincoln Collier. And I got this book. It was going to be thrown away from the library.
Oh, beautiful.
Discard. It's stamped on the outside of the book. Discard. I got the book. And I said, wow, I met this cat. Another quick, this one won't take long, but I met Grover one time in New York. He and his wife, Georgia. He said, we're going to be in New York, Gates, and we're going to be at this address. Saturday night, come by, 8 o'clock, ring the bell. Okay. I go there, I ring the bell, and this short, wild-looking elderly woman answers the door. And she had like this look in her eye that was like inviting, but like crazy. Huh. She said, come in, we're expecting you. And guess who lived there? Guess whose wife she was? She was the wife of Professor Irwin Corey.
Ah!
Oh. Huh.
I spent the next 45 minutes, I couldn't get my breath. I mean, they had me on the floor.
Do I resemble her a little bit?
No, but Irwin Corey was wild, man. I mean, that cat, he used to open up at the Village Vanguard for comedians. I mean, for the musicians.
Yeah, I know.
They had Lenny Bruce opening for musicians.
That was an old thing. There was a guy from up around here who just passed away, Ray Canale. He was a comedian. And he always wanted to do shows. He always wanted me to open for him, the singer. He wanted to be the star of the show.
Singers do not open for comedians.
No, it's so funny, but I needed the $400, so man, I did it. I was like...
Well, I knew a guy he's from Connecticut, Captain New Haven, who many years ago, before Rodney Dangerfield got really big, they would play a trio, piano, bass, drums. They would play a few tunes. And then Rodney would come out and do his bit, and they would stay on stage. They would drum roll his jokes or. But he told me, he said, man, like every night on stage, they would be behind Rodney. They would open for Rodney Dangerfield. They'd be crying. He said, I'd be bent over the piano, man. I'd be crying. I'd be laughing so hard. He said, one night, he said, these guys have been with me for a long time. He said, these guys have been with me through thick and thin. He said, now I'm starting to make it, but screw them. I still pay them scale.
Boy, we know some of those cats. No names. We know some of those guys. I know. No names. I can name about 10 of them.
But that's funny stuff, man. Those guys, what hip musician? He's got a jazz trio behind him. Rodney Dangerfield was hip.
A lot of those guys from that era, though, were into that. Don't you remember watching Carson and oh man, Pete Barbuti.
Do you recall Pete Barbuti?
I was just saying that. Pete Barbuti. Oh my God.
I'll have to Google that name myself.
Oh my God.
Man,
I don't know.
And he played better than half the cats around anyway.
Really?
He was talented. He could really put. I remember one where he says, because he was an Italian, and I remember growing up as an Italian, and I grew up as an Italian. But when you were a kid, you had to play an instrument. And it was probably a piano, a guitar, but most likely it was an accordion.
Accordion.
Accordion. So Pete Barbuti walks out on stage and he says, well, I'd like to play the accordion for you folks. He says, first I'm going to show you, and he's got the accordion like, you know, on the ground, on the floor. He picks up
that.
He says, first I'd like to show you how to put the accordion on. He picks up the accordion and he says, you're really a gas, baby. He said, you know, I really dig you. He's putting the accordion on, right? And then he says, no, I'd like to show you how to put the accordion down. You know, and so he insults the accordion.
You
hip human,
dirty
man.
piece
He
of
was
junk.
so funny.
No, he was brilliant.
He's still around, you know.
He's still alive?
He's still alive. He lives in Vegas.
Nope. Well, that would be about right.
In fact, he's got a T-shirt of mine. He's got a T-shirt of mine that says "No squares."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I want that.
Well, it can be arranged.
I want that. I'm coming to your house to get it.
It can be arranged. It's got a square, you know, a square with the circle and the line through it. No squares.
I want that.
It's available.
Well, let's make people aware of where they can buy that. Is it on on your website?
Etsy, ETSY.
Oh, everybody knows that.
Yeah, of course.
Etsy, Giacomo Gates T-shirt.
Yeah, but you know, I can't use the word merc. Like, I can't merch. I just, like, no.
I don't know about that either.
I
merch, that's what bands do, don't they? That's when you go to a parade, they merch.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess.
The marching band.
The marching band.
The marching band.
Hey, Nance, before...
I'm sorry, he cracks me up, man. He's
been cracking us up for the last hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, some of them are groaners, but I go for the groaners too. You know?
I'm into the groan. Believe me, my dad is a big groaner.
Oh, yeah. He is funny. He is funny. It's true.
You know, he and my mom, we do a Zoom call every Friday, my parents and I, and he'll just crack a joke. And my mom will just give him a look like, are you serious?
She's sick of it.
Yeah. I mean, but they've been married almost 58 years, so she's had to put up with it. But Nance, I know you were going to play one more song of Giacomo's. We had talked about it. I think talking about loving you and then getting out. You know the one I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I told you
I love you. Now
I love you. Oh, boom. Look at that.
A little while ago, I had a gig in New York City on a Thursday evening. And then I had a Friday and Saturday in Philadelphia. I know a young lady who lives in Philadelphia, and she was kind enough to drive up to New York and pick me up after the performance, and drive me back down to Philadelphia.
Harold Dick.
She was also nice enough to offer me to stay in her apartment. Well, everything went very well musically. And on Sunday, when she brought me back to the railroad station to catch a train back to New York, I started to express my feelings of fondness to her. Well, she put her arms around my neck. She kissed me on the cheek. And she whispered these words in my ear. She said, I told you I love you, now get out. I told you I love you, now get out. Well, everything's rosy and everything's Jake, but just how much can a nice girl take? I told you I love you, now get out. She also said to me, there may be times when I need you, there's no doubt. But baby, you're something I can do without. So leave your number and go on home, but don't wait with sandwiches by the phone. I told you I love you, now get out.
Man, your voice sounds so sweet there, man.
Yeah.
That really sounded good. Is that a true story, Giacomo Gates?
Of course. All the stories are true. If they're not true, they ought to be.
Is that already a tune, or did you write the lyrics.
No, that was Woody Herman. Woody Herman first recorded that.
Oh.
Did you?
It wasn't written by him. It was written by Herb Ellis and the violinist. The violinist. He was at Heidi's. He was at one of Heidi's. Heidi's. Italian cat. He was very funny. Several people wrote that, but the very first recording was by Woody Herman. And then several years later, I think it was Shorty Rogers and Anita O'Day recorded it. But the story in front is mine.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. That's what I want people to know.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I want people to know.
And again, it goes back to the conversation. I just love the fact that there's that, you're just talking it up, and then, she whispers in my ear, and then you just start riffing. It's great. It's just great.
It's good. But it was so good that I was picturing the whole thing. And that's what's supposed to happen, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully,
I was picturing the whole thing. And that's you won. You won. That one. And when I heard that, I said, yep, that's the shit. Say in LA.
Thank
you. You painted such a great picture there. And Harold Danko was the pianist on that one, huh?
Yes.
He's in Rochester.
Yeah.
He's in Rochester.
I thought so.
Yeah.
At the time, he was living in New Haven.
Oh.
And if you look closely, the producer, that was my very first release. That was on DMP Records. The producer was Helen Keane.
Oh, Helen did all the stuff with Bill Evans, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
And she produced Mel Torme, Carol Sloan, a lot of singers, along with many instrumentalists.
I wish I was around on the scene back in those days. I don't want to get that. I really wish I was.
And you know what? There's another Grover Sales connection. He introduced me to Helen Keane. He said, you need somebody like Martha or Joe Glazer. I said, who? He said, Martha or Joe Glazer. Joe Glazer managed Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington. Joe Glazer was dead by the time I made it, but that's what he was referring to, someone who can put you in the light, because that's what it takes. I did it all wrong. I came here and I thought, I'm going to learn a repertoire. I was already aware of a lot of the music, but I mean really learn the repertoire, learn how to present it, learn how to have stage presence, learn how to work with a band. Learn all that, then start to get some gigs, then maybe start to get a few write-ups, and then maybe try to get heard a little bit, get a little bit of some recognition and a little history, and then bring that to a booking agent, and then maybe do some dates, and then go to a record company. Well, that's backwards. That's the way they did it in 1940. The way to do it is before you do anything, is you get yourself a big agent who's connected.
Yeah, but they're not. No big agents are going to help anyone that isn't already got a name that's recognizable. Not to my knowledge.
Well, if you are the right age and if you're what they're looking for, you are what they're looking for, it doesn't matter how talented you are.
You know who helped me was Abby Hoffer. Do you remember Abby?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Abby took care of me big time, man. He had me up into 4 or 5 figures in a month, and then he passed away.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what happened.
Well, he just happened to like you.
But he liked me. That's the thing.
Yeah, he liked you.
He dug me.
But if he liked you and maybe you weren't as talented as you are, he would have helped you become more talented and put you in the right place at the right time, and you would happen.
Well, they did. I mean, I was up. Then Steve Getz was in the agency, and we all know Steve was a wingnut. We know that, but he was a great guy. He had a great heart. We're talking about Stan's kid.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah. He was a great heart. He had me up at the Rainbow Room. I had Billy Hart on drums. I had all this stuff. I had my whole career was right. Boom. And then for sad reasons, I had to come back here, but I don't want to get into that. But anyway, I lived it for a minute. I'm gonna come back. I'm coming back. Do you have a by the way, do you have a couch? I can... All right, I think we about touched on it all. What do you think?
Speaking of
Eric?
couches, I went to a shrink for a minute, and he
Oh,
said
here we
to
go.
Giacomo, he said, "You don't have to come back." I said, "Really? Am I cured?" He said, "No, baby, just don't come back."
Just don't come. I knew we had to get one last groaner in there. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
This has been as fun
entertaining.
as I had hoped. Man,
Yeah, I
Well,
could cry.
it was a ball.
it was. And
Don't you feel like you did a gig? Like you did a gig. You feel like energized, and I'm like,
Well, for those who attended, I hope you all had a good time. And Nancy and Eric, thanks for having me.
our pleasure. And
we'll figure out. I'll figure out where I can repost it so people can watch.
oh yeah,
We had a
definitely.
problem. There's. It says it's live, but we've got a problem. So
Yeah.
whatever. But it's recorded.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's live. I'm seeing it's live on Facebook. So I mean it's recorded and it's people will be able to watch it, and for those people that we couldn't read the comments of, we'll have that fixed by next week. Let's real quickly plug our guest next week, Nance. Miss Judy Wexler.
Yeah.
Judy Wexler will be joining us next week.
She's
and
an
then
interesting person because she sings the music, she enjoys the music, but she also markets. She also does marketing. She has a couple balls in the air with that one. So we'll hear what her story is.
but it's been a thrill. In fact, being on with Giacomo has inspired me. I think when we're done with this show, I may just have a glass of wine like you, Nance, and I might just enjoy one of my personal favorite Gates recordings, and that's this one right here.
Yeah.
Man, I love this one, Giacomo.
Thank you, Eric.
This was fun to play on the radio, and we got such a great response. And I know if we start talking about it now, we'll be on for another 25 minutes, but you doing the music of Gil Scott-Heron, I've never played another record where somebody interpreted his music quite like you did it. So if anybody who's not ever gotten a chance to be hip to this recording, the revolution will be jazz. And of course, that's a play on words. If anybody knows anything about Gil Scott-Heron.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that plug.
People should check it out.
I can say that the plan was when that record came out, Mark Ruffin and I were going to go to Gil's apartment in Harlem and hand it to him. But he passed 2 months before the record came out.
Oh, I think I remember you telling me that. Yeah,
because that wasn't recorded. That was recorded. He was still alive.
He was still, yeah.
And he died. I think he died in March, and the record came out in May. We were going to go find him and say, "Man, this is because of you."
Yeah, I think I remember that. Wow. Anyway, but that and all. I mean, again, all your recordings, they all bring a different. They all have different flavors. It's like ice cream. They all have different flavors, different tastes, and.
But look for another one in March or April, again on Savant Records.
Oh, good. Great.
It's called You.
You.
Y-O-U.
Y-O-U. Okay.
On Savant. Again, happy to be with Savant.
Okay. Well, we'll look for that. And GiacomoGates.com is the website. Etsy is where they can get the shirt.
Yes.
There's somebody telling you, get the hell off of there.
That's like the
I'll
third
have the
call.
butler get it. It's okay.
That's like the third call Giacomo's gotten during his show. My goodness. He's a
Mandrake. Get that, will you?
Hey, Giacomo, we wish you lots of love and thank you for being in our lives.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
It's
so
my
much.
pleasure. My pleasure.
You're the real deal, baby.
So I'll say, that's all, y'all.
That's all, y'all. I'll see you later, babe.
Always a pleasure, Giacomo.
Bye.
Good
Thanks,
night.
man. Bye, Nance.
Night, night.
Night, night.